everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Dance Talk Realness, a podcast where we discuss all nuances concerning education and dance, because a dance experience is an experience worth talking about. I'm your host, Truly B, and I'm here with my awesome, as always, co-host, Daryl P. And for those of you who have the visual, he is practicing safety first with his mask in his location.
Yes.
I'm here for it. Yes, safety first. I approve wholeheartedly.
Always.
Hey, so today I am posing a question. I preface this with I have done zero of this research. I don't have these answers. But positively, some of this is showing up in the research I plan on focusing on this semester. So maybe we can circle back to this in like May or so when I'm done with this spring semester and see if my thoughts and opinions have shifted any or if I have further information I think to like support a case. So we'll see. But the question is Black dance still necessary? And more specifically, that designator, that term of it being Black dance. My initial thought is yes. That's like jerk me reaction is yes, it is. But while you have some peace where you are, I want you to share your thoughts.
Qualify it. Yeah, no. So I agree. I think that distinction is very important because I think what happened in 2020 and the movements that went on, and I think what happened in 2020, I think what we saw in 2016 was just how backwards this country still is, how people of color are still treated, how people of color are still recognized and acknowledged. You see it in award shows, you see it in politics, still see it in history and schools, that we are still not removed from being like, it's just a dance. No, we still need to honor and have that distinction of Black dance, so that way people still appreciate it for what it is and still understand it, and just honor it. And I think that there still isn't enough, right? And we've come so far, right? And we definitely. We just definitely still have a long way to go. Even though we've come so far, we still have a long way to go in the to really get to a point where we can say it's dance. It's not that distinction.
Yeah. As people enter the area,
I'm listening.
Okay. I can say I definitely agree with that assessment, which is a huge reason of why I'm like, yeah, no, the designator I think is still legitimate. I do understand the argument of, in theory, I understand the argument. Let me say it like that. In theory, I get the idea of we need to try to move past everything being connected to the social construct of race. But the issue I take with the argument is that while I may want something to be a certain way, in the process of me thinking of, well, this is how it should be, I can't ignore what it is in the present and in the moment. And I feel for a lot of people who I've come across who they have expressed that idea of, your reactions are hilarious, this is great, who have expressed this idea of, well, we need to move past it being Black dance. Why can't it just be dance? But that's not where we are. And I'm like, I think two things can be true. Said this before, we'll always say it. I can both be like, yes, it would be great to move past needing the designator. And I can also be like, but we do need this. Also, I think for me, it's less of moving past it for it to be just dance and more of an acknowledgement and a respect for it. And I think the connotation when you hear Black dance is that it's othered and it loses value, which is complete BS. But I think that's what happens. And that's the part where I understand us trying to move past it. That's where I'm like, okay, yeah. Because when I'm choreographing, like, dance, like I don't know how else to explain that. But I know if I go into a space, first of all, the first thing they're going to see is I'm a Black woman when I walk in. So like automatically that's how people think. So automatically their first thoughts are going to be, oh, this is a Black dance piece. It really doesn't matter what style to me. So I'm like, there's already that social aspect of it. But then when you're dealing with actual Black dance forms, I don't see the problem with the designator there. To me, it's more of an acknowledgement of the point of origin, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, that definitely makes sense. And I think that you should really work to, hey, we should work to, I definitely agree with that. When you're talking about Black dance forms, then the distinction is still there. And I think we're at a place where like, I feel like that's appreciated, right? And that's definitely a form. We've talked about it before where just because I'm Black doesn't mean I can do African or should be, or that I'm Black, I should be able to do hip hop. That's not always the case, right?
Because not I. It'd be trash. Right. Don't do that.
Don't do that. Oh, we can do some.
Look, that's it.
That's my African.
That's all I got. That's all I got.
That's all I got.
Like, I'm sorry. That's all I got. That's all I can give you.
So, and I think that those distinctions in that regard, people appreciate that and like can understand that. But I think that I was just thinking of like dance theater Harlem. Like when I see there was a beautiful piece that was shared around October, and they were doing ballet throughout the city of New York, and it was beautiful, and it's Black dance, right? Mm-hmm. But I didn't see any of that feeling like that was less than. But I can understand where maybe if you didn't see it but just heard it, that people would then think, oh, well, then what is it? Mm-hmm. You know, if that makes sense. Mm-hmm. So,
yeah, I think drawing that line, because there's so many different angles to it. And even like taking Dance Theater of Harlem, for example, well known as a Black dance company. And I can see the argument for saying, well, why can't they just be another dance company? But I take issue with the erasure of Blackness from things. For a myriad of reasons. Because number one, again, I don't feel like we're in the place where things will still be acknowledged and respected if the designator is taken off. I don't, like, it's not that I even feel that the company itself would change how they operate. It's more the reception. Because I'm all here for reminding people, like, but I'm Black, y'all. Like, I just, let me just gentle reminder, but I'm Black though.
But
Because go ahead.
do you think that like when you see those distinctions, I'm trying to think how to say this because I don't want to sound ignorant. But do you start to think that we're at a point too where when you call it black dance, like dance theater of Harlem,
Mm.
that somehow that should be like a, oh wow, I'm impressed. Like black people shouldn't be doing that in their,
Yeah, see, because I
you
don't
know
want
what I
that
mean? Where
either.
it's
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, we like that's not something that's like a, ooh, you're walking on your hind legs. Like
Yeah.
I'm correct. You
True
know, it's
statement.
like you know what I mean? Like we're not a like it's like a show pony moment where it's
Mhm.
like, oh, I would have never have guessed. You know,
Yes,
I feel like that is not the reaction we want
it
when
is not.
someone says that you're going to see black dance, and it's just like, you know, that's I don't know. I just
No, I think that's a very legitimate point. Because 100% no, we do not want that response either. Like, I don't want you to, on one hand, be like, "Oh, it's black dance," oh. But I also don't want you to be like, "Oh my god, look at the blacks! Look at what they're doing." I'm like, "Yo, like, dude, I am a person though. Like, can we not?" Like, I have trained in things. Like,
I did right. I went to school. I would dance. I've been doing this since I was 5. Like,
yes, I was like, I too studied. Yes, I agree with you. We don't want that. So, like, in my mind, I don't even know how attainable this is, but there is some space in the middle of those things where you're just like, I can acknowledge the blackness of this and it can just be dance. And I don't know how to make that mix happen. I am not sure. But it has to be possible to acknowledge that connection and that history without the tomfoolery attached. It has to be possible. Like, I'm so sure it's possible in
yeah,
other realms.
right, exactly. It's but you know we do it too. Like I, you know,
We do.
the flip side of that, if I saw like, there's always those videos of like the white dude that's part of the fraternity that's doing the
Mhm.
line step, and it's like, okay, white boy, like look, you know, and it's like,
I'd be so not impressed. Let me tell you. Like, cause legit, like within the past month or so, there was a white girl who she's now my soror. You know, that's cool. That's fine. I don't really give a damn. And people were really just like, oh my God, look at her. Like, oh, she got a little booty to her too. And what the fuck does that have to do anything? Does she do community service?
right,
Is she helping the community? Then okay, I'm cool. Like,
yeah,
so it's like I don't take issue with them being there, but that response, I hate it.
yeah,
So I hate
yeah.
it. I'm equal opportunity with that hatred because I'm like the oh dude, I think it was out of high school. I don't know if that child in college yet or what, but white boy that was a drum
The drum
major.
major,
I was
yeah,
like,
yeah,
I
yeah,
don't give a good goddamn. Look,
yeah,
is he on beat? Can he conduct?
right,
Okay. Like, I'm
right,
not that pressed. Like, it's
right.
not important to me. However, I can see from seeing people's reactions that I'm like, we're still in this place that folks really just be like, oh wow, look at what the whites are doing. That one has
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
rhythm. I'm
Right.
like,
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
I'm like, this is trash. But
Right.
yeah, so
But it only but see how that, I mean, it's like we're at a place where nobody expects the other race to do what the race is doing. You know what
yes.
I mean? And it's like people want to really tread lightly on that because you don't want it to be from a place of like misappropriation,
Mhm.
right? Or you know, the girl who decides to cornrow her blonde hair. You know what I mean? Or
Mhm.
um, the person who, you know, is a drum major for a you know, HBCU. You know, it's, you know, or I don't want to say that like ballet is white, but it's very white. So like, you know, the Misty Copelands of dance, right? Who makes it as a, you know, the principal dancer of a very white um, ballet company, or an all black ballet company. Um, you know, it's like nobody really, it's, we're still trying to, like, I don't know, there's still this idea of we're impressed by the things that we're not supposed to do.
Mm-hmm.
It's not that we're not supposed to do that. People still feel like there's still things that people feel like it's not for
Yes.
us or them, right? Like, that's not for you, that's not for you. I mean, and I think that we are slowly trying, I mean, in all facets of life, right? We're all trying to tackle and manage those things, um, so that way, you know, we are a little bit more equal opportunity. There is a little bit more equity, right? In like how we live, how we all, you know, exist. Um, but I think, you know, especially still in the dance world, like I just still like, for me, you know, coming from Texas, like I'm still always in shock of like how many dance teams, like high school dance teams, I see that are still like predominantly white.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like I'm just like, so you mean to tell me you don't have not one other black student in this, like you have one black student on your dance team, and that's like the population of your community, and like that doesn't, like I just feel like if your dance team, if your school isn't like a melting pot of people in 2021,
Mm-hmm.
like what kind of community do you live in? Um, but then it goes back to these things where like, could a white person audition for Dance Theater Harlem?
Mm-hmm.
Would a white person want to? You know, are those doors opened for that? Um, because I do think, you know, a friend of mine would always say how, you know, sometimes in certain communities we like to be very like-minded, right? Like even politically, right now,
Yeah.
since, you know, hey, go Georgia. Um,
Please, Georgia.
go Georgia.
Please.
You know, we want to be in these bubbles, right, where
Yeah.
people like us. But sometimes when you get that group think to where you can't think outside of any other ideas. And sometimes it's nice to bring in those people, right? So like even though I still think yes, there still should be that distinction of black dance. But how are we and still inviting people into that realm, black dance, to then hopefully still get that message out about what it is, that it's not less than, that it's not to a point where we don't have to have that distinction anymore.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just
Yeah.
like,
No, you're fine. You're fine. No, you brought two things to mind for me. Um, one is potentially inflammatory. We'll see what happens. But way more people are team segregation than admit it. Way more people. And I'm like, you can just say you're about that life, like, and that's what you want for the world. Not saying that it needs to happen. Not saying that they are right nor wrong. But I'm like, y'all, some folks be out here lying. And I think that's where that idea gets perpetuated that, okay, but this is what these people do and this is what they are capable of. So saying it from outsider looking in, that and okay, as a black woman, let me say, if I were looking at white people like, okay, But this is what they do. They don't really be stepping though. They don't really be doing hip hop though. So why y'all over here? Number one. And number two, if one of you is good at it, oh my God, I'm surprised because that ain't what y'all do. Like that mindset, and I can't sit here and say that I've never had it, because I think most people at some point you've had a thought like that. But I think that holds us in that holding pattern of kind of keeping us separated. Actually have some opinions on segregation that I'm just going to circle back to at a later date. We're not going to do that today. It's the start of a new year. We ain't doing that. But we'll bring it back later. Maybe, I don't know. We'll see. But the second thing that came to mind was, and this is something that I wholeheartedly plan on bringing up with my students this semester in my first time ever teaching dance history. I am scared, child. But I'm like, from my perspective, I'm like, I don't really want to say it's ours, we not sharing. I'm like, no, we'll share with you. I just need you to acknowledge that it was mine. Like, if I break a cookie in half and give you some of the cookie, then, and someone says, oh, well, where'd that come from? And you're like, oh, I made this. Like, use a motherfucking lie. Like, no, you did not. That was mine. I shared it with you. I have no issue sharing it with you. But don't be just out here lying to folks. And that's my issue with a lot of it, is that there's this not equal trade. And there's not this acknowledgement. That's where I take issue. And it's not, to me, it's not only like a black-white issue. Did they cut your lights off? Boy, I'm about to holler.
Well, you know they have the
motion thing.
I'm nowhere near a sensor. I think the sensor.
We need somebody to walk through again.
So I need somebody to walk through.
But yeah, like I don't need you to take ownership of something that's not yours. You can learn it. You can be a part of it. But I think there is still a lot of importance that should be placed on acknowledging the history of something. And I think those things are possible to do together. Like, I can be inclusive and still inform you of the history. Like, those, they shouldn't be mutually exclusive. Like, you should be able to do both. And I always use the same people as my example because they do an excellent job of this. I was actually talking about them to someone else. Allison and her husband, Jared. Allison has been on the podcast. They have a studio in Flint, Michigan. Number one, I've always loved the fact that she'd be like, but I'm from Flint though, because other people be talking about they from Detroit. And I'm like, Detroit where? Because if you weren't from in these city limits, no, you weren't. And she's really good at correcting people. And I've always just appreciated that because other folks be trash. But also, even just talking with her about, because she's a B girl, and I'm like, first, can we just be very clear that me and hip hop aren't friends? Like, I'm just not good at it. And I acknowledge that shortcoming. She's amazing. I love it. I love watching her. I love watching her work. And she is a very strong advocate for knowing the history. She does not come into the field with this sense of privilege that others do. She doesn't act like she's come up with all the things by herself, that she has cultivated this culture on her own. She is very much about, but you gonna know this history though. And I know, like, through the studio that is also enforced with the students. So I'm like, when people ask, they're like, well, how are you supposed to? I'm like, prime example. I'm like, there are people out here actually doing it. I'm like, so it is possible. And I'm like, yeah, it may be more work initially, but okay, so suck it up. you want to be about it, then be about it and do that part of the work too. Because if I go into, like, if I were more serious about ballet, that's another struggle. Because child, that but there is no way anybody's letting me through all this training without learning some of the doggone history. Like, I got to know it. Like, I have to. Like, it just isn't going to function as well if I don't know. And therein lies my problem. It should be the same for every dance form. I don't care where it came from. Like, when in the world dance units that I've taught, like when I've done Soranbushi from Japan, they get a whole history lesson, because I'm like, okay, we're not about to just do this dance and be like, oh, yay, fun dance. Oh, it's cute. It's from Japan. I'm like, no, I'm going to need you to know what this is rooted in. We're going to look at the lyrics of the song that this is performed to. I want you to understand the context in which this was created. I want you to know who was allowed to perform it first and how it has shifted over the years. Like, you need to know that. And it's just not a fair exchange for everyone. Both stylistically and individual people that just won't do that work, that they feel they should just be allowed to just consume whatever. And so all that to say, I'm Black, y'all. And I am here for it being Black dance for that reason, because until everyone is putting in the work to acknowledge it without it having to have the designator, I'm going to need to remind people, because you may know, but the person next to you may not. And they just need a gentle reminder of where this is from. I think that's where I'm at.
Do you think, like, for instance, like is it the IB, I don't know, the International Black and Dance Conference?
IBD?
IDB? Yeah.
Yes. Like, I went and I should know. IABD. There we go.
Yeah.
IABD. There we go. I was like, I should know this answer.
Yeah. What are the dance forms that are done at that conference?
Man. There was,
I mean, is it a little bit of everything?
It's a little bit of everything. I know the classes I took a Dunham class.
Mm-hmm.
I always say I want to go get certified, and then I'd be like, I don't want to do school no more after this. So
right.
I don't think I'm gonna be doing it. Like, if they would have caught me earlier in my life, I would have been down for the cause. But I'm like, y'all, when I finish this one, I think we're good off of school for a long time. Yeah. But I did the Dunham course. I want to say the Princess definitely took ballet, definitely took tap. I think there was an all-night hip-hop class. And I was like, I don't know who's going to walk you back to the room, because I ain't coming to get you. Yeah. Smooth gave that little girl a key. It was like, be blessed, find your way back. Stay with the group. Like, that's all I got. Not sure. I feel like they took a jazz course also. Mm-hmm. Performance-wise, I'm trying to, I want to say there was a tap piece. I think I'm not lying. I think I'm not. Heavily modern. Mm-hmm. Heavily
what
modern.
Styles?
Child, at some point they all started looking the same to me. Which is rough. Not to say it like that, but there, and it could just be my memory failing me. That's always a valid option at this point. But I want to say people may have been coming from a Horton base. Mm-hmm. I don't think that anyone was Lamone based. I don't think. Mm-hmm. I don't think anyone was Hawkins based.
African performance?
Maybe yes. If I'm not making that up, also.
African classes?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah, that
Because
did happen.
I asked those questions because for saying that it is a Black
Mm-hmm.
dance
Yes.
festival, are we doing Black dance?
Part of me wants to say yes and no. Because I'm
No.
like, definitely, I'm pretty sure the answer is legitimately yes. But the no is coming in. Actually, that no is kind of coming in with the modern side of it, number one.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And it's coming in with like the student performances. I don't know. I feel like the adults may have been more representative of a variety of Black dance. Students, though, it was like, Now, there was some good variety. And I think that may have been where that tap piece happened, was like, it was a studio or somebody. It was kids.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't recall any adults doing, unless there was a performance I did not see. I don't recall adults tapping, which always makes me sad. Yeah. But there, like this shift into contemporary modern, I can't say I don't like it because I do it. Like, I'm here for it all day. That's usually the style I'm in. But I think, especially with the younger people, that there should maybe be a little bit more emphasis on at least giving some background in these styles that are Black-based. And again, if your institution is one that is about that, because if you're not, then I don't know how you're adding that to your syllabus. I mean, people they can say it's for diversity and all that, but I'm like, if you don't really mean it, just don't. It's okay. Just don't touch it. It's fine.
Right,
like just be like, well, we're not about it.
Yeah.
Like we
don't do it. Don't do it to check a box.
Thank you. Like that's the thing. Like just like I could say I teach you to check a box, but I shouldn't. I really should just not. Like I have friends who do it. Let me call them in as a guest artist because I should not be doing it. Like and more people need to be about that life of don't just do this to check the box off. Like be honest, do some of the research, look in, see what your mission is, see if there's anything you can change to and still be in alignment with what your plans are. But don't just be checking boxes. Like let it actually be beneficial to the students and the program at large. So
right, to the students in the program that you're into, right? Like it shouldn't be something that is like you do it once a year or you do it one time and then that's it. Like it needs to be you do it every year and that's part of your curriculum.
Yes. I would have to ask the princess, but potentially the piece they did may have been Horton based. I just be cheering for my baby, to be honest. To be honest, because I knew she was about done with the performance company. And I was like, let me just be happy that this baby is on a stage. Yeah. Because she's officially like, I don't really want to do this. Yeah. Tap, she does still, but she's like, completely off topic. I just wanted to share this with the world. So she's 100% doing point now. It's happening. This was the dream, hope, goal that she has had for years. And this child sure did tell me last night I hate it. I about died. I was like, no, you don't. You love it. What you talking about? She's like, it hurts. It hurts so bad. And I was like, you're good. It's fine. It's fine. You'll get used to it. It'll be okay. So I just wanted to share with the world that the pain was real. It got very real very fast for her. Life comes at you fast sometimes, though. So I'm like, it's all right, sis, because I done bought them shoes. So now you're definitely finishing this out. At least get through this pair. And then we'll reevaluate in the fall. But sis, you're finishing out this semester. But that thing was funny to me. But yeah, so I definitely think as an organization, that's another thing. Even outside of movement styles, a lot of the panel discussions definitely centered on the state of Black dance, moving forward, current day. I know within like the Dunham class, like there was definitely like the history component. I didn't get to go to as many of the panel discussions as I wanted to. I also went to one for higher ed, and that was a good one. And just talking about not only to make sure that how Black dance is being covered in these institutions, but making sure that it just is, and trying to really build more dance programs at like HBCUs, which I'm always here for. And I know something, I actually wanted to do this last year and I didn't get a chance to, so see if I can plan it better this year. But I want to talk to people who have dance majors at HBCUs, because I don't be knowing. And I'm like, I taught high school for too long for me to have not had a packet come for me to hang something up talking about auditions for my students. All them other schools came through. Yeah, I never received one from an HBCU.
I don't, and you're absolutely right. And the thing is that why I think people sometimes consider it as less than. Like I remember I went to a very white college. Mm-hmm. Who would we play in our football games? I can't remember if it was like Texas Southern or if it was Prairie View. It probably was Texas Southern. Mm-hmm. And so, like, of course, their bands were amazing. And we had like a college dance team of like 70 to like 100 something dancers. They were like precision dancers and they were amazing and incredible. But like the thing that was really interesting was that when their dance teams would perform, like when Texas Southern dance team would perform, you could just tell the technique just was not always there, right? And it becomes like this. You know, it's awesome. Like it's awesome. It's hot. It's like our dance team was very like precision. We're gonna kick our faces and we're gonna do all these beautiful turns, and like the other teams, like I find the music is more exciting. It's more fast paced. It's like what people want to see. But then as a dancer, when you're looking at it, you're like, ooh, point your toes. Ooh, you didn't get off the ground very fast enough. Ooh, your leg didn't go very high. Then you're just like, that's yeah.
So as somebody who has marched in a HBCU band, let me tell you now, band directors are good for saying auxiliary is just decoration. We can have the band without you. They don't give a shit about dance. They do not. I am legally bound to one of those types of people. And 100%, like, let me tell you, have never been able to work with him successfully because that is the mentality. And I'm like, okay, as a musician, I'm like, okay, obviously you can't have a band without band members. Like, duh, no shit. But as a dancer, I'm like, but if they're associated with you, do you not want them to be top notch? So we would get into it, because if I'm in charge of your dancers, we're dancing. We're fixing technique. Like, they're going to work on turnout. Like, they're going to point their toes. We're going to be working on clean pirouettes.
And these dancers thought that they were dancers. And I was like, what dancing are y'all doing? Let them flex that feet.
Thanks. Like, I don't know who told you, but they lied. So I 100% can see how when you play them and you see the dancers and you're just like, oh, well, I get. And if that is your only example of what Black dance can be, then yeah. I
Yeah.
can see how you're like, yeah, no, it's not as good. I don't want to go there.
Right.
And it's like, another example. First of all, still sad that I never got that packet in the mail to have students audition. But Howard, I've gone to like their student choreography. I missed it this past fall, and I know one of them babies. I taught her. Amazing. And I'm just like, why the fuck are you not recruiting harder? Y'all, okay, just taking it off of a global aspect, bringing it all the way just into PG County. Because, like, yeah, I know they're in DC, but what the fuck ever. PG is basically DC at this point.
Yeah,
So, look, close enough.
Mm-hmm.
They should be all up and through PG County schools. All up and through. I'm like, amazing dancers.
I've never gotten one Howard University packet that says from audition. But
and I'm like,
they don't do that.
Taught at high school 7 years in that county. Never saw a thing. Never was invited to anything. The only time I got invited was when one of the kids who graduated and went there invited me to come see her. When she said she was majoring in dance there was when I found out they had a dance major. And I'm like, yeah, could I have done that research? Sure. But also, y'all could be sending these packets out. Y'all could be recruiting. Like,
let me tell you, UMBC get one every year. Every year.
I used to UMBC, Goucher, stayed getting them. Maryland, stayed getting them.
When the community colleges are sending stuff out, come on now,
everybody. And I'm just like, why y'all not? Also, on the music end, I can at least give them this. I don't know what the white schools be doing. HBCU band directors show up at your school. We'll audition you at your school. They be like, oh, you can't make it? I'll be there on this date. Well, whatever arrangements you need to make. And I'm like, why don't we do that? Why don't we have that?
Well, we'll have to talk. I don't want anybody to steal my idea, but I definitely, because I definitely want to start something where, like, for instance, when we went to the marching band showcase for PG 2 years ago, there was a college that was there. Mm-hmm. Like, students, and I don't know why they were there or what brought them there, but they were there, and they came up and talked to us like afterwards, like talked to the girls after they performed and was like, hey, you guys did a really good job. Like, we are some of the dancers and band members from what is Bowie school like colors? Black and gold. They were from Bowie.
They were. I remember that because I remember it was them.
Yeah. It was. I was like, wait. Yeah, so Bowie, so they were there, and they were super nice. I'm like, really like, yeah, like, we're from Bowie. Like, where is everybody else at this prime place where you could go, like, these high school students, some of them high school seniors, recruit. Why weren't they performing for them?
Too much like right. Like, it's weird.
That's what these white schools are doing.
It is, though. It is. I'm like, you can't be complaining about your numbers if you're not trying to get them up. Like, yes, sometimes you're doing everything you can to get your numbers up and shit's not working. Okay, cool, that's fine. But that's not what this is. This is a literal, here is an avenue you could take and you're not taking it. Like, it boggles my mind. And especially with, like, it blows me with dance because I always hated that. Because I'm like, why don't y'all do this? Because I remember, how I ended up at Norfolk State? Because the band director traveled his ass from Virginia to Michigan and was like, we're auditioning this date. You gonna be there. And my band director was like, yeah, it should be there. He also did me real shady, but it's cool. It's fine. I love him. He passed a couple years ago. Love him though, because he ain't lie. He just told my business. And I was like, don't be telling people. Like, don't throw me under the bus right before the audition, but okay.
Maybe I'm gonna be a changed person my first.
I was not. Let's be clear. Went to college and did the same shit. So to be fair, he ain't lie. He gave them the heads up. To be fair. But I have not really seen that from dance departments. When I was at Northwestern still, and I ended up sending like a crew of kids. It was just a bunch of them from Northwestern that went to University of Wisconsin, Stevens Point. Dance didn't come, but like the recruiter who came was involved with the arts. He wasn't like in the department really, but he had some perspective of dealing with the arts departments and at least came and spoke to each of us. So it's possible to send somebody. And I mean, hell, if you can't make it, then send somebody who can speak on behalf of your department. But I'm like, dance programs in particular, and I'm like, dance programs everywhere, high key. But like HBCUs, I'm like, you can't have too many people in your program. I know that. That's if I ain't learned nothing else from teaching, I've learned you can't have too many people, especially when folks are worried about budget and they're deciding who that money go to. Nope. You can't have too many people and you can't bring in too much money. Those are the things that will guarantee you still have a job. So I'm like, why would y'all not? So one of my goals, 2021 should be this year. It's what we're aiming for. Is that I'm like, if y'all hire me full time, I ain't doing this for adjunct pay, to be clear. Transparency. I shan't do it for adjunct pay. Like, I ain't enough.
It's too much work for adjunct pay.
Oh my God, yes. But yeah. I'm like, hire me full time. I'm taking my Black ass all up and through PG County. I'm like, them the first people I'm hitting. I'm gonna be all up in Northwestern, maybe Suitland. I don't know. They be on some other stuff sometimes. I love them. But also,
well, and I was thinking that too. I wonder if, like, maybe why Howard doesn't recruit so much is because they're relying on, like, oh, there we go again.
The lights, though.
I know that they're relying a lot on like those, like Booker T.
Probably.
And, you know what I mean? Like, they're just like, well, that's where all of our kids are going to be there. And
but they're missing out on a lot of talent. Really great. Yeah, like they're missing a lot. Like when I tell you, I don't know if I should say it out loud. I'm trying to think, will she get in trouble? She didn't graduate yet. I'm not going to say it. I'm not going to get, I'll put myself in a position. I won't put a student in a position. So I'll tell you off of here about one of my babies. But
is there a student that is going to a school but not?
Like is currently enrolled in a school.
Okay.
Yeah, she's currently enrolled, so I'm not gonna put her on blast like that.
Okay, yeah, I got you.
Yeah, no, it boggles my mind that I've had so many. In fact, I want to say either the last or the second to last year of me in the county, when seniors were looking, there was one who, it was the last year, because she was one of the ones who didn't show her whole ass, and I was appreciative of that. I want to say she had a family member or somebody who was either teaching at or attending Coppin. Child, I didn't know they had a dance major for the longest. Didn't know. They definitely do, though. I want to say somebody said Morgan does. And I'm like, do they? I would need to look that one back up because I don't remember. But like, folks just naming these programs, and I'm like, who said they had it? Like, where's the documentation? When are the performances? And I'm like, taking everybody else, again, taking nationwide, global out of the equation. I'm sorry, DC and Maryland, maybe VA. Sir, how y'all gonna be right here and y'all not talking to the people who right here?
Right.
Like, are you just assuming we don't have students we can send to you? Like,
right.
Because we do. Like, it is a thing. Like, it's just, it drives me crazy. So that is something that I already know will be on my list. That I'm like, oh no, but I'm going to show up. And I was like, I'm still close friends with a lot of teachers in that county. I'm like, oh no, I'm showing up. I'm going to tell your kids to come to this. Here, come perform in this. Here's another opportunity. Hey.
Yeah, we used to go perform at spring. So I've invited it was a small kind of private university in San Antonio that they invited us to come perform at their spring concert. And
Mm-hmm.
then they in turn came and performed at our high school spring concert.
Yes.
It was really fun. And it's like, did any of my students go to that school? No. But, it was at least a way for them to get that experience and to
Mm-hmm.
see college dance and to see
Yes.
what they're doing. And that might have even sparked, like, there's so many things that in these things that like could spark like kids, you know, um, interest in like college in general,
Mm-hmm.
dance or even dance in college. But um, yeah, I think when it's almost one of those things where we talk about black dance, but do blacks do black people, or do they value dance? Do these universities value dance in these dance
That
departments, right?
part.
Because if they did value it, then they would be searching for ways
Mm-hmm.
to incorporate that into their curriculum, especially in a place like any of these universities in DC, Virginia, or Maryland, where dance dance in Maryland is very similar to what I think of dance in Texas. And I think dance in Texas is huge.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, for saying that every high school, for the most part, has a dance program at their school.
Yeah.
Every regular, like, what's the word I'm looking for? Comprehensive high school has a dance program.
Mm-hmm.
So most of the universities there have dance in them, right? So it's like it just doesn't add up, because then you have these kids that, and Maryland is even more ahead, because I think Maryland has a lot of middle school programs, a lot more middle school programs than I think Texas does. So you have these kids that are going through potentially elementary, for sure middle, definitely high school, but very few options for college, um, that I feel like could be really representative of like themselves, right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
and that's just like, yeah, like my one student who danced at Prairie View in Texas and ended up being the captain of the dance team. There's no dance classes, there's no dance program there. Um, and I will say, dance and HBCU. One of the things that she said was that, it's a different kind of dance, and it took her a while to get used to that, right? Because that was something that maybe we did not do a good job of introducing her to, that style of dance. That's very much part of her culture, right? Like, I think when I think of dancing at HBCU, like, yeah, like that's something that's totally different, right? But there is still that technique that I don't think is still being valued in those programs or in those settings, like we were saying.
Mm-hmm.
Or I think that, you know, do these band directors appreciate? We already realize they don't. But do these universities realize that if they had that, that's bringing money into your university?
And that
Um,
that that piece is, I'm
yeah,
like, okay, because I have just made executive decisions that I'm not gonna even bother with helping the band unless I'm getting paid additional for it. And
yeah,
that might be nepotism. I don't know that I can get paid to do that. So I'm like, I mean, you can encourage them to sign up for my class. That's cool.
right,
Help
exactly.
them. But I will say the president over at Bowie
Hmm.
has a dance background.
Hmm.
She is with the shits. And I'm like, yes, ma'am.
Hmm. Hmm.
Yes, she is the reason that the ability to really push for a major is
Hmm.
possible and is
Hmm.
happening. Um, I 100%, in fact, we have a meeting later today. 100% I've been of the opinion, of which, I'm just adjunct right now. So my say don't really be mattering. But I was like, yeah, nah, push, ask for everything, get everything that you can, because she's willing. And my experience, and again, this is just a high school experience, but when we were getting the VPA program at Northwestern, that it was like, oh, but if you're giving me the options, then yes, I want this. Nigga, I want it all. And then you can just say, all right, but we ain't got that money. Like, we're going to have to scale back on some things, and I'll scale back. I'll help you. But I'm going in asking for it all, because people don't stay in those positions forever.
Right.
Like, they hopefully don't get removed, but some do.
Yeah.
Some move on to other opportunities that they feel are better for the next step in their life. Others age on out. So it's just like, you can't say, okay, well, this person who is in support will be here for forever and ever, so I don't have nothing to worry about. I can take my time. It's like, nope. I don't know. For all I know, she may be like, I've been saving money for years. Summer 2021, I'm out this piece. I'm going to live on an island somewhere and live my best life. And I'm like, if y'all didn't get everything you could while she was there, now you got to hope and pray that the next person will be about it. Nah, B, do what you need to do right now. And so, I really am hoping that she is here for a very long time, at least long enough to get me into the family and situation. I think we lost him, but it's okay. We'll bring him back in when he gets back. But I'm hoping, of course, that she's there for a long time to get in and make sure things are very established. But there's also this acknowledgement of, okay, but if we're going to do the thing, we need to do the thing and hit the ground running and be ready. Another part of that is also just being able to, if someone's willing to take that risk on you, that you got to show them that that risk was worth it. And that, I think, could be part of when Daryl is saying, do these universities value dance? That not that programs aren't pushing and that they aren't giving reasons to believe that, they are really trying to push the art form and the departments forward. But unfortunately, we have to kind of look at the wording and work things around in a way that non-artists really comprehend the bottom line of what's happening. So I think that there can be probably more put towards everyone and not just HBCU, but all dance programs, just more put towards making sure that there is an understanding with administration, with all the higher ups, with the people who decide where the money goes, making sure that there is always clear communication with them on what the plans are, what we're trying to do, and having very clear attainable goals and very clear outlines on how we plan on achieving that. But the selfishness in me is 100% like HBCUs definitely need to do that push. Yay, we have Daryl back.
Yay,
Like, Chad, I
had a customer.
Yes, customer. I'm here for it. This has been amazing. But yeah, I think overall, just dance as a whole, one of the things I was just saying is it's not that I don't think that everyone's out here just not pushing the programs, but we just need to be sure that we're being very clear in articulating what it is we're trying to do with admin and all the higher up, the people who decide where the money is and where it's going to be going. Making sure that we're clear, that we have a plan and we have goals, and then very clear steps that we plan on taking to achieve said goals. And I think that would help garner more of the support and help them to kind of hopefully see more value. Before we go, I wanted to throw something else out there. This could probably be a whole separate topic, but I don't care. I wrote it down, so we're doing it. Meh. So, regular person on the podcast, Marcina. If y'all don't know her, you should. She's been on here. We just be dropping her name like she be on here every week though.
All the time.
I was like, sorry, sis. We just be throwing you out there. We were both talking about prepping for this semester, which you all are back to teaching. I still have another week and a half or so. But we're talking about prepping, and she asked the two questions that I kind of wanted to touch on. And then we'll probably end up talking about all of this at some later date with somebody else at some point because they're legitimate topics. One of the questions was, why aren't there more scholarly dance books? And I do know, in particular, this came up because I was talking with her, a book that she just gave me, because she said, well, maybe this will help you with your research for the dissertation. And she was like, she said, well, it's not really written at your level. It's written more towards like maybe high school students. She was like, but it does cover some of the stuff you're looking at. And I'm like, anything helps at this point. Anything that will give me more information, yes, please. Worst case scenario, I can just go through the bibliography and start pulling some of those sources also. But I told her, I was like, you know what, you're right. I haven't come across a lot of scholarly dance books, like journals and all that stuff, articles. I'm not counting those because those I've come across, but like books. And it's just like, I've seen some, but I just feel like there could be more. And maybe, and of course I haven't seen like every single dance book there is out there. But I've also never really had professors who pressed certain books that really were like collegiate level. So that's interesting. And then,
or do you find that there aren't any that are like even for the graduate level, right? Like
yeah,
really.
Yes.
I've seen a lot that are very much so like on that undergrad collegiate level, but like something that is really. But there also probably aren't a lot of PhD dance programs out there anyway. So like I guess,
and see, that was one of her.
And no offense to the MFAs, because I know you're an MFA, so not saying anything against them. Yes, yeah.
Because that was work, child. Jesus.
Right. But looking at like, I don't know how would they be different? What would that look like or read like?
Yeah.
For that level of study, you know what I mean? Like, does it really need to be? But I feel like the knowledge is there, right? Like,
yeah.
Like just even taking, I took a dance class with my professor last week, and just so many things that she talks about. We're just talking about like we were rotating, doing something in spiral, and she was like, the lumbar spine doesn't spiral, and I was like, oh my God, the lumbar spine doesn't spiral.
Like, you're right though. Like, it does not.
Right. Yeah, it doesn't. It's just like, and I'm like, and it's just like thinking about like choreography that like incorporate, you know what I mean? So it really, when I think about scholarly dance writing, I think it becomes the synthesis of movement and of choreography. And I think that sometimes doesn't happen yet.
Yeah.
Like, tell me about the combination of movement and anatomy and kinesiology all in one. I mean, it would be a huge book, right? But just really looking at like, just letting someone go off on a tangent on that, and then like letting me absorb it.
And I'm glad you brought that up, because that's a key thing. Like, I 100% agree. Like, the knowledge is there. Like, it's there. It's just not in books.
It's not right.
not in books, which sucks when you're trying to write a book and cite things. Like, so it's making my life hard. But also, I'm like, you right though, because like you said, like just in a regular conversation, we just be talking about stuff, and I'm like, plethora of knowledge. It's just not in books,
right?
And I was gonna say, Marcina also added that usually when we are writing, we're writing for the masses. We're not really writing for each other. And I think that speaks to what you just said, is that you're in conversation with this professor. Like, you're exchanging this information and like you're absorbing it. And that conversation wouldn't necessarily happen with somebody outside of dance. Like, I don't know who's just busting out talking about the lumbar spine. Like, I just don't know people in my life who do that. Like,
it's not right.
Like, I don't think that's normal in polite society. So it's like, for us, it's not that I think we do need some of this written down. Real talk. I think so. But such a huge component is us just sharing it. And not that other fields don't have that, but that's such a major thing for us. And for us to experience the actual movement and to do the movement and to get the movement into our bodies is such a major part of what we do, that I think that's where, maybe this is a thing. All of our scholarly work is just going into our bodies and into the bodies that we're teaching, instead of us putting it like on a piece of paper. You think they'll let me get away with just saying that in my dissertation? I'm like, I like the knowledge is in my body, y'all. I don't think they're gonna let me do it. I don't think they're gonna say okay.
But I think that could be an interesting topic to write on, about how, or expand on, of like why, dance is such a live and living, as we are, a dance experience.
It's an experience. We're talking about.
We're talking about. And I think that we talk through these experiences all the time, and they bring up different things for different people, all valid, right? And I think that it's hard to really capture all of those different moments and experiences and how they then shape, they shape how we teach, they shape how we interpret, how we analyze, how we synthesize out of the world around us even. And so, I think that it's such a form that's very archaic in the fact of like, it's word of mouth, you know what I mean? It's passed, sometimes it's just passed down through experience. Through experiencing it with someone else or in a performance, right? And it's something that isn't necessarily written in a book. I don't know.
No, I agree. I agree. Like,
there should just be a lot more dance journals that then turn into like, but then turn into like books.
Yeah.
Lesson. I don't know.
Oh, that is actually a thing to think on. It's like, how do we? But yeah. Oh, no. I feel better about that now. Nothing really got resolved, but I also just feel better. And then the other question that she had posed was, why aren't there more lists of jazz choreographers and dancers? And I was like, because jazz doesn't get that type of respect, unfortunately, which sucks, because why? I don't understand. But it's so much easier to find that list of ballet dancers and choreographers, modern dancers and choreographers. Even like now, current hip hop dancers, choreographers. Like, it's so much easier. And then jazz is like this in between world. And I'm like, it shouldn't be. Like, jazz is its own thing, legitimate thing. Very clear style. It's odd, but and I don't know if we're fancy enough for this, y'all, but I would love to have her on. There is a website that I actually need to send this to Marcina. Completely spaced out on it that I was like, oh shit, I actually know someone who has a whole site. And so the site is jazzdancedirect.com. And I'm going to read you the little 3-sentence blurb at the top. So this website is created by Jazz Is Dance Project. This site is a searchable directory of jazz dance companies, events, publications, organizations, and colleges. Jazz Dance Direct was built to promote the visibility of jazz dance in its many varied forms, bringing together a community of practitioners, presenters, scholars, students, writers, and more. Jazz Dance Direct is devoted exclusively to the promotion and visibility of jazz dance. We greatly value the influence, contributions, and overlapping relationships with tap dance and hip hop, but do not feature those genres on this website. So a very specific focus, which I appreciate because yes, but also pulling it away from these other forms, which going back to our original talk on Black dance, that is one of the issues I think that happens is that things get lumped together and it's like, oh, well, Black dance is only this. And it's like, people low-key be forgetting like jazz and tap though. Jazz and tap though. Both them. Like, y'all. So I do appreciate that distinction. And I will actually
I just looked at the glossary. The glossary is awesome. Like I love the
and so it was founded by Miss Melanie George. And I actually a post that I did the other day that I was saying, because I'm doing this grateful challenge. You've seen the post. And so an accomplishment of mine was graduating with my MFA from Hollins. And one of the reasons why I'm grateful for that accomplishment is because I was able to meet people like Melanie George. I was in the program at the same time as someone, I don't know, she wants me to put her business out there. So her initials are TP. If we're good, she'll send me a message later. But she was friends with Miss George. And she was like, oh, no, you need to meet her. She's in the area. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. And then I've just been like kind of Facebook stalking her ever since. I'm weird. Sorry, not sorry. I haven't done anything crazy. Definitely Facebook stalk all the time and like follow all the things she's doing. So would love to have her on though one day. She's also a dance dramaturg. So I'm like, that's amazing because I don't know that a lot of people do that. A lot of people don't know what dramaturgy is. So I actually love to have her on, but I don't know if we're fancy enough yet. I don't know. Need to see what the rates are. I don't know. I don't know these things yet, but we'll look into it. But yeah. So again, that site is jazzdancedirect.com, just like how you would spell those words, like no crazy spellings, just regular words. And I think that is a definite great starting point to start getting not only more information, but more involved in the jazz dance community. So yay, useful information, sharing the word. All right. Well, that's all we got for today. Make sure to like, comment, follow, subscribe, all that jazz, blah, blah, blah. Follow us where you can. See us where you see us. I need to update some stuff. Be on the lookout for new logos this year, new merch this year. I know, right? It's about to be over the top in 2021. We about to be extra, and it's gonna be great. I'm already extra, so I'm here for this. It's gonna be real foolish, but it's cool. It's gonna be fun. Hope y'all enjoy that ride. If you have any suggestions or any questions for us, feel free to drop us a line. And we look forward to bringing you some fresh new content next week. We'll see you then. Bye.